Hello everybody and welcome back to the Echo Airsoft channel. Today we are going to discuss a little bit about Soviet camouflages that I have in my collection. So there are two main Soviet camouflages, pre-Russian Federation camouflages that I have in my collection at the minute. The first one is the KLMK oversuit, which is I have right here. So this is the total KLMK oversuit, the one-piece suit, and it is in white Berezhka camouflage. And we also have the KZS oversuit, which is right here. Both top. This is a two-piece. It's both top and bottoms. I have them here on the hanger, in gold Berezhka. So we're just going to discuss a little bit about them. Both camouflage patterns are currently still seeing heavy use, despite being around for the better part of 50 odd years, at this point even longer. So they're still being used and still being seen in reference pictures from Ukraine at the minute. So perfect for a real cheap alternative to any sort of the Gucci Russian camos that you do see in operation at the minute. You can find them for very, very cheap depending on where you shop around. They're not as cheap as they used to be before the war, obviously, but certainly you can definitely get good deals. I got great deals on both of these suits. Done some modifications to the KLMK suit to kind of bring it more forward into the 21st century a little bit, make it a bit more suitable for how I want to use it for. So we'll discuss a little bit about that. We'll discuss the price point, and we just talk a little bit about where I bought them, kind of the loadouts that I would use with them, to kind of modernise them a little bit. So stick with us, and we'll get straight into it. Right, so I have, first thing we'll start off with is the KZS suit. As you can see here, it was designed initially as an oversuit, so heavy use in the Afghanistan conflict with the Soviets. So a point to note about these two overalls is that they are masking suits. They're not actually uniforms in and of themselves. They're actually designed to be worn over a uniform. So with that in mind, there is zero pockets on the KZS suit. Nothing. As you can see here, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, but it is actually quite see-through. You can see here there is a hole on both sides where the pockets would normally be on the Soviet M88 uniforms, so that's for easy access there. Elasticated waist on the bottoms. I'll try and see, can I get you a good look. See that sort of mesh material, you might be able to see me through it. So it is quite breathable in a sense. But what I will say about this is, the last time I wore it, it was in the height of summer, in a very humid, forested environment. The weather was quite humid and the sweat was leaving me. I was covered in sweat. So the ventilation for a uniform piece that is basically a mesh material, it actually does make you sweat an awful lot. I will say that. I do think it is a product of its time. The camouflage pattern, as we said, Berezhka pattern, I find that this is extremely effective for the sort of environment that I wear it in, which is iron temperate, forested environment. So it's quite dark and it allows you to kind of blend into the shadows a little bit well. I was wearing this in a forested environment at a skirmish day about, I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and people weren't able to see me at all, and I was literally just wearing this oversuit and a multicam war belt like I normally would wear. If you've seen it on my TikTok, that sort of loadout that I would normally wear. So yeah, that's the sort of material. So that's just something for people to bear in mind, that is sort of like almost like burlap material. That's the best way that I can describe it. And then the top is much the same. It comes with roll up points here, and then there's a button that you can use to roll up the sleeves. The sleeves are actually quite long, so I prefer to have them rolled. I find they get them in the way. They're not adjustable at all, other than the button here. Buttoned front. Buttons are quite sturdy, in fairness. I've nothing bad to say about them. They've taken a couple of shots actually from BBs. Mind you, we are in under 1 joule. We operate at under 1 joule here in Ireland, so it hasn't had a real test, but yeah, they've taken a couple of shots on their grand. We have here string as well to adjust the hood. Now, what I will say about the hood is it's quite large, and I do have the feeling that it will go over a helmet. There is that much space in it. I wear a boonie normally, and if I'm not wearing a boonie, I wear a bandana. It's just the Multicam rules that are here. We're actually not allowed to wear helmets as the RUSFOR faction unless it's night time when you have nods. So I have no need for a helmet, so I don't have one. But there is an awful lot of space there. I get the feeling like you may be able to wrap it around the helmet quite easily, and it is adjustable that way. So these Soviet block items come in 3 sizes: size 1, size 2 and size 3. This is a size 2. So for reference, I am 5'10" and 90 kilos, so this fits me just fine. The bottoms here are elasticated very well. They actually stretch an awful lot. If I had to take a guess, I would say that they'd stretch to maybe a 38-inch waist, if I had to guess. They're quite snug on me, and obviously I'm 5'10", and I think they're more so designed for the larger Soviet boots, so they do kind of ride a bit up on my lower Zephyrs, to be honest. So that's just something to bear in mind as well. It is a little bit short. Size 2 is quite easy to find. Size 3, which is the next size up, which would be for taller people than, say, the average person, which is below 6 foot. They can be very hard to procure, so that's just something to bear in mind. The size 2 does me just fine though with my measurements. I got this for about, I think it was €40. Guy in Ukraine, so old Soviet military stuff, I think, or vintage Soviet military stuff on Instagram. It was €40 for the set, and I got that shipped in from Ukraine. I think that was just at the start of the war, so I'm not sure if the prices have gone up yet or not, but I have seen these certainly going around on the second hand channels for quite a steal. In fairness, you would see these an awful lot out on out at the Milsims on the RUSFOR faction. What I will say is you do see an awful lot of the AliExpress masking suits, which are fairly similar to this. They're different material and a little bit cheaper, but they do come in different colours as well. So this is just something that kind of stands out a bit better. It looks a bit better, looks a bit more the part than the AliExpress suits. Now, there's nothing wrong with the AliExpress suits. I've had them in ATACs before. I just prefer these ones. They just have that kind of old school retro look with them, so it's just something that I prefer. So that's the size and the price point in relation to the KZS suit. Pairs lovely with Multicam, looks great. I don't think I have any pictures of me wearing the KZS suit with Multicam, but it does look, it looks great. And it's just, it blends very well. As I said before, I've played a couple of skirmishes in a dark forest, and you're not being seen. You can quite easily sneak up on people, or if you just stay still, you're going to blend into the shadows, because it is quite a dark material. You can get them in different shades of green, and you can get them in different shades of where the flower, I suppose, pattern is, it's very dark, but I have seen like the greens is very light, and I have seen the flower pattern being quite light, or can also be quite dark and go both ways. So there are different shades of the KZS suit, so that's something to bear in mind as well. I think the place where I got them only sells this shade, and if they don't, they specify otherwise, so you're basically going to get this unless it specifies otherwise. So that's the KZS suit. We'll move on now to the KLMK suit. Right, so now we have the KLMK suit. Now, of the two, this is probably my favourite. I will attach a picture of me wearing it at a Milsim right now. And to be honest, I love the pattern. It's real vintage. I remember seeing a fella probably about 15 years ago at a Milsim wearing one of these, and I remember thinking, he's wearing white on his camouflage, like he's never going to blend in. And I watched as he disappeared into the forest, and I never seen him for the rest of the day. So look, it's deceiving in the sense that even recently, like, I had people looking at me saying, like, how are you supposed to blend in there? It is basically white. In real life it looks, it's quite tan, but on the camera and I suppose from a distance it actually does look white. I wore this all throughout the summer at the Milsims and at skirmish days, and in the forested environment with the light piercing the trees, and it's very, very green in this country at that time of the summer, it blends very, very well. I can't describe how well this blends. I wish I had footage of it. It was before I started recording my gameplays, but I was sitting amongst a group of enemies, like all gillied up style Call of Duty 4, lying down right next to them, and they didn't even see me wearing this. Again, I paired it with a multicam plate carrier, my Skanda, and looks great, works great, which is more important. Well, we all know airsoft is like 70% a fashion show, but it looks great and it works great, which is both are extremely important. So again, it's a reversible suit, which is an interesting concept. It was early kind of concept. So on the inside, I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah, so on the inside, it's like, it was originally meant to defeat Gen 1 night vision. Now, saying that, I did play at night time with this against people who were using Gen 3 and Gen 2 tubes, so it's not IR resistant at all to modern night vision, so that's gone out the window. I basically just wear it on this side only. Comes with the hood. What I will say, unlike the KZS suit, the hood probably it won't hold a helmet. Most helmets anyway that are people would use for airsoft these days, it will not hold a helmet. It won't go over like you would see on the KZS suit or even on a Leaf suit or something like that. So absolutely not. It will not cover you in your helmet. We do have these little slots for vegetation. I used it a couple of times. There's really no point though, I don't find. Once you're standing still in this, it's going to be impossible to see it, to be fair. So we have the hood there, adjustable drawstring again. So I'll just go over the basic suit before I discuss the modifications that I've made to it, because I have actually made a couple of modifications to this suit to kind of bring it forward, because it is a product of its time. It doesn't really take into account the need for say body armour, or pocket space is an issue as well, which is a serious problem I found. So we do have the slots for vegetation there. I made limited use of that at the Milsims this summer, but it is an option for those of you who do like it. As I said, one piece suit. So we're into the first change here. So there is only one button, it should be noted. So again, this is meant to go over your actual uniform. But what the Soviets in Afghanistan were doing at the time was they were actually cutting this in half, and they were using the top or they were using the bottoms and modifying it that way, or just wearing it standalone, because obviously it's very warm, which is what I do. I just wear it standalone. You might have a pair of thermals on at night time underneath, or a t-shirt on. I obviously wear a t-shirt on, but I might have a thermal t-shirt on underneath, something like that. But it only does come with one button. The standard one comes with a singular button to keep it together at the front, which obviously is an issue if you're just wearing it standalone. One piece suit, slightly reinforced and easier, and then cuffed bottoms as well. Go around to the back here. So an interesting point about this is it has an ass flap basically. You unbutton these two buttons here, and it falls down and it reveals your ass. Basically your ass is in the wind. Obviously I modified that as well, so we'll get further into that. But yeah, that is the bare bones of this suit. So as with the KZS suit, it comes in 3 sizes. So you have size 1 through to 3. It's the exact same size, and so again I'm 5'10", 90 kilos, fits me just fine. There's plenty of room. I bought this off Alexander Cosmodromes on Facebook. Probably one of the better sellers for RUSFOR gear on Facebook. If you're ever looking for somebody, Alexander Cosmodromes, look him up. He's wonderful seller, great to deal with. I bought quite a few pieces off him now at this stage. So he had this up for $50. I went, yeah, so it was $50, but the difference was that the person that this was issued to shortened it from size. So it was a size 2 originally, but it was shorter than a size 2. He cut I think it was something like 15 centimeters off the legs or something like that to make it shorter for him, or maybe that was his preference, I don't know. So that's why it was cut in price. Normally you'd see these for about, I've seen them go for about $100 maybe, or even less, which annoys me because probably about 15 years ago, I want to say, maybe a bit longer. No, it was about 15 years ago, I was in Prague and I seen a barrel of these in Prague and they were $20 or 20 of their money each, which I think at the time was something like €5, something crazy like that. Anyway, it was about €5 for one of these about 15 years ago, which is crazy to think about because the prices are quite inflated now, for obvious reasons. Yeah, he shortened it. So that's why I got some money off it. But if you're just looking through the second-hand market or even through verified sellers on Facebook, you can find great deals, which is what I'm trying to convey to you. Is you can find excellent deals if you just look and you're patient. So yeah, I got this for about $50, and obviously because it was shortened, fits great, looks great. You've probably seen from the photo that I will attach to this to the video earlier, and it's easily modifiable to make it the way you want to. So we're going to get into the modifications that I've done to it. So instead of the buttons, the button catch, so you can see I have a button here at the top, and I've attached Velcro, so it Velcros together and holds together nicely. It doesn't come out, it's not very noticeable from the front, and it's so easy. Just so when you have it on you, you can just take it down like that. So you're not messing with buttons, and your button's not going to fail in the middle of the game. As I said earlier, there is only one button on this, so if that fails, you're pretty much up shit creek, to be fair. So yeah, that's the Velcro that we've attached to that, and I've done it the whole way down to the end point there. So you can take it up from the bottom if you want. If you're caught in the bush on patrol and you need to go to the bathroom, you can do that. It's very easy. Yeah, so that's what I've done. Going right to the back then, I've totally sewn up the ass flap. It's totally sewn up. I had no need for it. There was, just no need for it, so I just had to get rid of it. So totally sewed it up. Buttons are all sewn on together, and it doesn't come down anymore. It doesn't fold down. You can see some of the threads there. I didn't do a great job, but you can see some of the threads are still around. But yeah, totally sewed up the back flap so that it can't come down anymore. And the last modification that I made then was I lengthened the legs. So basically what I've done is I've taken some material off AliExpress. I think it was €6 for 2 yards of it, maybe, I want to say, something like that. It was about €6 for a length of the measurement of the camouflage material anyway. And I took it to a shop and got them to cinch the cuffs and to lengthen it. I don't know if the camera's going to, yeah, the camera will pick it up nicely. So the camouflage pattern's actually different there, and the material is different as well. This is almost like sort of like a synthetic nylon, whereas this is cotton. So you can see there, I've just lengthened it back to where I want it to be. So I made it a little bit longer than the standard size too, and I've done it on the other leg as well. Made it a little bit longer than the standard size too, just for comfort. So this actually fits over my low Zephyrs lovely. These were actually initially designed, I believe, for the larger, like, Soviet jack boots almost. So they were meant to be tucked into the jack boots. So they're not designed for modern boots in mind, where you're supposed to be wrapping them around, say, a low profile boot like a low Zephyr or something like that. So yeah, you can definitely tell because they're a little bit shorter than normal. So if you can get someone to add on these little bits to lengthen it up, yeah, you get that done, because it improves the comfort level tenfold. Now when I did wear these, I had gaiters on, so you couldn't really tell anyway. But the sort of almost synthetic fabric at the bottom is grand for water wicking, because if you're walking through somewhere and the water just wicks straight off and it just comes straight off, whereas the cotton, it does tend to get a little bit wet. There was a little bit of rain at the last game that I wore it, which was in September 2025. That was the last game that I wore this suit to, and it did soak up a little bit, but it had to change it out, because once it gets wet, it kind of stays wet unless you're constantly getting rain. If you're constantly getting rained on, unless you dry up a little bit. But unfortunately, that was a game where we did get constantly rained on once it started raining, so I did have to change out to my wet gear then at that stage. So that is the KLMK suit in all its glory. I tried them on there just to show you the fit and what it's like on, and we'll get into that then. Right, so this is the fit of the KZS suit that's on me. As I said, I have the sleeves rolled up because that's just what I prefer. I don't like having the sleeves too low down. These ones are a little bit high up, but I can change that. Top here kind of fits like a large top, a large European, I would say, to be honest. We have the bottoms here now as well. So they are quite snug, they are quite tight. Can't believe that this was used for an oversuit, to be honest, because I don't see how there's much room, if any, for any other uniforms. We have the pockets here that are just going into nothing at the minute, basically. I'll show you just, let's see, you can see here just how they kind of ride up, and they're landed about my ankles at the minute. So shouldn't be too much of a problem if you've boots on. They're not going to ride up too much. I haven't got boot socks on at the minute, obviously. I just have my wee ankle socks on me. So yeah, that is the fit. As I said, it's fairly useful camouflage, really effective for the area that I normally operate in. So can't recommend it enough for anybody, particularly people that are in Europe. And as I said, it actually does look quite well with the likes of the Skanda on or whatever. I'll show you cut to a point now of me wearing the play carrier with it on. Mixed with the Demych Skanda at the minute. You can see, I think it looks quite well. Like, just, I'm quite partial to that blend of retro versus new wave stuff. So I quite like the mix. You may have seen the video, I'll put it up here, of me with the 6B45 where I wore that as well. I just love the mix of old and new, so that's just something that I quite enjoy. So yeah, just if you wanted to have a look at what it looks like with play carrier on, here's a little bit of a wider view there. So we're going to move on to the KLMK suit now. Finally, this is the KLMK suit. So as you can see, really baggy fit, super lightweight, super manoeuvrable, does nothing for you in the weather. Besides the if it's too hot, it's generally great to wear if it's really warm. Again, I just have a t-shirt on underneath this. No under uniform or anything like that. I don't bother with any of that stuff. So I carry all my sustainment either on my play carrier or it's on my back in a form of a rucksack or a Berezhka. So one thing that I did forget to mention is there is one pocket on this oversuit. It's just here on the back. I usually use that to carry my debt rag or something like that. Just something handy to have in reach, because normally, as I said before, I carry everything on my play carrier. I might do a loadout video someday, just showing different things that I wear and the things that I have in my sustainment kit. So this is the KLMK suit. Again, nice, cheap, cheerful bit of kit for anybody that's looking to start off on the RUSFOR journey. You can procure them basically anywhere. Looks the part, looks great with modern kit. It's kosher for today because there's plenty of people wearing them. You can see the camouflage pattern, even just maybe not this particular suit, but certainly the camouflage pattern itself is seen widely even today. And in the case of the KZS suit, it's the same, and it's actually even been seen on both sides. I've seen Ukrainian special forces operators wearing them in videos on Telegram as well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, don't be afraid to comment below. Like and subscribe if you like this. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. And we hope to see you in the next one. Thanks a million.